Our new hero's banner for March is for Shadow Dragon and Mystery of the Emblem. Today we'll be talking about stats and skills for FEH newcomers, Yuliya and Arlen. We then have Ascended Merric and Attuned Caeda. Caeda was jealous that Ghost Marth was cheating on her with literally everyone, so she took his clothes. We'll discuss strong playstyle and build ideas, so let's just get into it. The 4-star focus is Yuliya. You can get her at 4-star and 5-star rarity, and she's going to demote into the 3 to 4-star pool after the banner is over. Yuliya is an infantry healer, and demote healers generally don't have a lot going on. Well, Yuliya at least has a couple fun skills if you aren't planning to use her. That said, she's no slouch herself. Yuliya has 38 HP, 41 attack, 46 speed, 21 defense, and 36 res. Attack and speed super boons, and Yuliya is just a tad faster than Saul. She should be the new best offensive infantry healer among the free-to-play options. Don't underestimate Saul though, he actually has a couple benefits over Yuliya due to his stat distribution. Now for old skills, Yuliya has Physic Plus for the 2 range heal and attack and defense gap for specific ally buffing. She then has Deluge Balm. It's not the plus version, but I believe this is the first time we've got to one of the bomb specials with the 2 stats on a free-to-play friendly unit. At the same time, Yuliya has Speedrunner's Finish 3. First time we've gotten a finished skill on a non-5-star or non-limited time unit. It's not the most commonly used variant, but Finish 3 is really good. Easy plus 6 stats if you're near an ally, and you can get plus 5 true damage if your special is ready. It's a really fun budget tier 3 skill. Yuliya has one more skill, and that is her inheritable Sunlight Plus Staff. At start of turn, inflict the guard status on the nearest foes within 5 spaces, and it spreads to other foes within 2 spaces if they have a savior skill. If the user has 1 in 25% HP at start of combat, they get plus 5 attack and speed and inflict res debuffs on the foe. The res debuffs are equal to the number of positive and negative status effects active on the foe times 4. If the foe has 4 statuses of any kind, that's going to inflict the max minus 16 res during combat. Sunlight Plus is not a new weapon, but it's the same as the most recent non-arcane heritable staff, Summer Lara Shell's Seaside Parasol Plus. The only reason they are putting this on a demote is because Arcane Charmer now exists. This staff is basically the best pure damage staff you can get. Plus 5 attack and up to minus 16 res is a lot for a healer. There are some other okay combative inheritables, but this one also comes with guard support for your team. That guard status also counts as one of the 4 statuses you ideally want. Generally speaking, non-5-star healers don't have a ton of differences besides stats. Yuliya is extremely solid for Colorless Mage damage purposes. It's not free to play yet, but basically Wrathful Dazzling Staff in the B slot is nice for the full damage plus sweep safety, 2-tap foes if Yuliya outspeeds. For other skills, the usual Wings of Mercy and her field or in-combat buffs like Gap are totally fine. For Sunlight Plus, you can rely on the foes to bring their own statuses, because that's fairly common. However, you can be proactive with debuffs from your team. Unfortunately, I think the only free-to-play status inflicting options are Sudden Panic and Panic Ploy, which both use HP comparisons. Refining Sunlight doesn't even give bonus HP, and we're starting under 40 base as well. In terms of premium skills, a great option is Ploy 4 for exposure and deploy status, but those require res checks. 36 base res isn't terrible, but an example of where someone like Saul might have an advantage if you want to diversify your support options besides the usual things like Recovery C skills. Basically, if you want to use some of the more interesting skills, you're going to need to invest in flat HP or resistance, and Yuliya is behind starting out. If you stack enough HP with say boost 4 A skills or squad sacred seals, then Infantry Pulse 4 is really fun. If you get Arcane Charmer, with Sling you can pre-charge 2 cooldown specials. Maybe use Quicken Pulse for instant 3 cooldown options like Glitter of Light or Holy Pressure. Arcane Charmer is also good with Wrathful Temples, no guard for regular 1-2 special procs. For other skills, any of the healer specific skills not listed here are fine. Odd Even Recovery, any of the Movement Healing Assist, and the various other Wrathful Dazzling Staff for upgrades like Poetic Justice. The Incurable Plus Staff is fun for Poison Strike and Savage Blow type shenanigans. If you want, you can use No Follow-Up 4 and Tempo 4 for half DR Pierce. Infantry No Follow-Up 4 is a solid support skill that doesn't use any stat comparisons. Yuliya does want offense in No Follow-Up herself if you're going to go for that colorless damage route. Overall, there's only so much you can do with your non-5-star healers, but we now have Arcane Charmer. Its multiple cooldown perks work really nicely for infantry healers since they have access to other cooldown skills to pair with it. Yuliya is totally fine candidate for the weapon if you want a decent demote offensive healer. Next up we got Arlen, who is a fun colorless infantry mage. For stats, Arlen has 41 HP, 42 attack, 45 speed, 38 defense, and 17 res. He's not the fastest or has the craziest high attack, but for a mage with that level of attack and speed, 38 defense is very high. There's only a handful of infantry mages with higher base defense, and they're all super slow. Arlen's not breaking any stat records, but this is a very unusual stat distribution for a mage. He even has a defense super boon, but he will have garbage base res to compensate. For old skills, Arlen has Ignis and is bringing attack and res tempo 4 into the permanent pool. No guard, no special charging, and that half DR Pierce. For his weapon, Arlen has the Light Burst Tome, 14 might accelerate specials. At start of turn, if above 25% HP, grant +6 attack, speed, and defense field buffs, and the status to ignore terrain slowing penalties to Arlen and allies within 2 spaces. If Arlen has more than 25% HP at the start of combat, then inflict attack, speed, and res debuffs on the foe equal to 16, minus the foe's max special cooldown value times 2. 4 cooldown specials will hit the minimum minus 8 debuffs. In addition, Arlen has 30% DR for 1 hit, and his next counterattack is going to get bonus true damage equal to the total damage reduced, including other sources. If Arlen were to use an offensive special, he's going to get -1 instant cooldown before his first attack, and finally, after combat, restores 7 HP. This is a whole lot of fun stuff. Arlen brings some of that Caedean mage uniqueness with the status to let units not be slowed by terrain. Infantry can cross trees, calves can cross trenches. He also gives allies +6 field buffs for everything but resistance. In combat, Arlen will inflict a lot of debuffs. The lower the foe's special cooldown value, the more debuffs you get. 1 cooldown special users, for example, get hit by -14 debuffs. Yikes. On top of this, Arlen has 30% DR for 1 hit, and his next counter is empowered with the damage reduced. You then have Slaying with another 1 cooldown before Arlen attacks, good with tempos no guard. Arlen's got a bit of a different playstyle for a mage, which we'll discuss in a bit. Arlen will introduce a new skill line, although it's a combo of 2 very old effects. C, Bonus Doubler, is a skill that lets unit attack regardless of range. It then grants stats in combat equal to the highest field buff on each stat between the unit and allies within 2 spaces, calculated independently. C, Bonus Doubler, is quite literally Close Counter plus Bonus Doubler. This is an upgrade from Close Counter directly, and unlike those fancy Prime 4 skills, mages and healers can run this one if you want. Hilariously, or depressingly, this is just Bonus Doubler 4, but instead of the +4 to all stats add-on, you get Close Counter. I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of people would be fine taking Close Counter over +4 stats, as nice as that is. Obviously, not every range unit is going to want it, but if you're going to go for a stat-heavy build, why not fight everyone? Now, Arlen is a pretty unique mage stat-wise. You don't really find attack, speed, and defense as a mage's main stats. Arlen will self-buff those stats, which get doubled, and then you get -8 up to -14 attack, speed, and res debuffs on the foe. If Arlen gets attacked first, he has 30% DR, that reduced damage is added to his counterattack, and you have tempos no guard adding -1 cooldown to his special. Before his counter, Arlen gets another -1 cooldown, so he can proc 3 cooldown specials thanks to Slaying. Tempo 4 has half DR piercing to make that attack count. Arlen is going for a fairly annoying high counterattack burst playstyle. If you do not one-shot him, he's going to have a lot of damage to answer with, and he can his close counter, so melee units with low res are in trouble. To be more annoying, you can add Times Pulse to the base kit. This gives -1 cooldown, which means Arlen can now instantly proc those 3 cooldown specials on his initiations. While you can use Bonfire or Luna, Arlen is a perfect user of Flare, 30% max HP healing, great for when he tanks a hit. Now obviously, Arlen is weak to magic, and dragons are going to be a major issue because Scowl cancels out Light Burst Tome's instant cooldown. With 17 base res, Arlen at least does throw points into speed. He wants no fallout because even if a foe were to survive one of his attacks, well, the guy may just double on his own. You could swap to magic no fallout, but if you use infantry no fallout 4, Arlen sort of turns into Harmonic Caedean Lyn for infantry teams. She gives allies these same statuses. Now, while tempo is fun, if you want 100% DR piercing, you could opt for Special Spiral 4, -3 cooldown between Special Spiral and the Light Burst Tome. Another cooldown option is Pledge, and we are getting the Defense Res version on this banner. Arlen can just proc any 2 cooldown specials immediately with his weapon. For A skills, if you don't need close counter, feel free to go with things like Finish 4, Boost 4, maybe Unity with Legendary Robin if you want a pair of stat stacking mages. While Grand Strategy has a counter now, the same goes for Bonus Doubler. The benefit of Bonus Doubler skills are being able to buff all 4 stats potentially. However, if Arlen is panicked or those buffs get neutralized, the entire skill becomes dead weight. Multiple bonus doubler skills are really fun, but it has its risks. This is the same for percent DR, which you can stack. In fact, there's a new Attuned skill for this. Powerful, but maybe set stat debuffs are safer. You could run a tier 4 Seal B skill, just more debuffs, pure numbers, Low B skills also work, but personally I do think Arlen wants one of these special focused or DR piercing skills. Tempo 4 covers both. In conclusion, fun different type of mage like Legendary Robin or the recent Ivy, a lot of hidden bulk. Arlen having the Caedan mobility status with 3 field buffs is also great to have for just any team. Our next unit is Ascended Merric. He just can't stop being a green mage, but Merric has Horse this time. For stats, he has 41 HP, 43 attack, 46 speed, 23 defense, and 20 res. Super boons in attack, speed, and defense. Should be pretty clear that this Merric is a glass cannon. He's got some powerful nuking tools. For old skills, Merric has Remote Sparrow and the fun Insight Attack and Speed, only the second time that's been on a unit, and it's in the permanent pool now. Merric will have the Tender Excalibur this time, effective against Flowers and good old Accelerated Specials. If Merric is level 25% HP at the start of combat, he gets plus 5 to all stats and bonus attack and speed equal to 9 minus the number of allies under 40% HP times 3. Merric then gets full no follow-up effects and 30% damage reduction for first attacks with an S. Finally, if using an offensive special, Merric gets -1 cooldown before his first attack, just like Arlen. However, Merric also gets -1 cooldown before his follow-up attack as well. Tender Excalibur is quite good. Merric has 2 opportunities for -1 cooldown on top of slaying, and he can get his double with no follow-up, plus has some percent dare to tank hits. He's definitely not a super sturdy mage like Arlen, but with Remote Sparrow we have 2% dare effects. For the bonus attack and speed, if no one is majorly hurt, Merric gets the full +9 for a total of +14 attack and speed from this weapon alone. If allies were to get chunked out, he's gonna lose that bonus. Overall, very simple offensive tone with a great cooldown perk, plus Excalibur's usual flowery effectiveness. To take advantage of his new weapon, Merric has brought back his young version's unique special. Righteous Wind is now Sacred Wind, 2 cooldown special that boosts damage by 40% speed, and it fully pierces non-special percent dare skills. After combat, if Sacred Wind is triggered, Merric heals the entire team for 20 HP, and he gains Conto 1. You do not get double healing if you can trigger Sacred Wind multiple times, and the heal is always going to activate even if Merric dies in battle. This special got a huge glow up, 40% speed scaling up from 30% and double the amount of healing. In addition, Merric gets the very important ability to pierce DR skills as a mage cav. Very deadly combined with his long range, plus he even gets Conso 1 for some retreat options. Excellent special, although it does clash with any low HP tactics. Merric brings an inheritable B skill called Seal Speed and Res 3. This is the first tier 4 seal that covers 2 stats. It always inflicts -3 speed and res on the foe in combat. You then inflict more speed and res debuffs equal to 6, minus the current penalty on each of those stats during combat. If a speed or res debuff is active on the foe, you also gain guard. After combat, inflict -6 speed and res debuffs on the foe. This is a little confusing, but this new multi-stat CO4 B skill effect just got introduced with Annette's Crusher Refine. It largely works the same as the regular CO4 B skills we have now. Instead of -11 total, it's -9, but you get it for 2 stats. If the foe has field debuffs on these stats, you actually lower the in-combat value, but it's just normalizing to always try and inflict -9 speed and res. If the foe has debuffs active on those stats, you actually gain guard as a bonus effect. However, unlike the single stat CO4 skills, this one specifically mentions that you still get the -9 in-combat debuffs even if the foe can neutralize debuffs. You're gonna lose guard, but you keep the total debuff amount, and this isn't how the regular CO4 B skills work currently. Essentially, unless you really care about 2 points and 1 stat debuff, these new dual CO4 skills are just straight better. For playstyle, Ascended Merric is going to be a strong mage cav nuker. If the enemy does not have Scowl, he instantly procs Sacred Wind, which has full DR piercing. If that's not enough, Merric has 2 30% DR effects to tank a hit. If he outspeeds, he has no follow-up to double and guarantees another Sacred Wind proc. He then has Conto 1 to reposition and heals everyone for 20 HP. Behind this simple initiation game plan, you also have Flowery Effectiveness. That's fun. Tender Excalibur can give 14 attack and speed by itself, Remote Sparrow is +7, Inside Attack and Speed is +6 field buffs with a potential extra +6. You then have Seal Speed and Res 3's guaranteed -9 debuffs. Its guard effect may help in taking counters, but Merric has no innate debuffing tools. For a non-dragon/dual winter bodied unit, you have to eat a full DR piercing special. Merric is definitely killable on the counter, but what if he had something like Desperation 4? He has offense in the follow-up and 3 movement, so he can trigger the 100% HP Desperation. Instant 2-tap while also triggering back-to-back Sacred Winds. It's really disgusting, and you technically can use Wind or Water Sweep for a budget version of this. Worth noting that because of the 20 HP heal, you can't really use regular Desperation 3 reliably. There are statuses for Desperation, but I think the only way to get Merric the status is via Firestorm Dance 3. If you can get it though, maybe in the future someone else has it, you're free to run any damage-oriented B skills. Steel Speed and Res 3 is super simple, but we all know people are just gonna run Flared Strike as usual. Even if Merric weren't doubling, you're gonna lose some Speed and Res debuffs for 14 instant damage, and 20% of the foe's res is true damage for the hit. I don't think that's a bad trade. There really isn't a whole lot else to talk about. Merric has all the tools he wants and his unique skills, except say Desperation. His base kit is totally fine and gives a chance to tank a glancing blow, but Flare Strike is so stupid that people will probably sacrifice the protection for the unavoidable damage. To counter Scowl, you could use something like Rally Spectrum or Quicken Pulse. Dual Winter Pilot will be an issue though, since his Scowl is potentially +3 cooldown, aka triple Scowl. They seem like the main counter to this type of unit. For everyone else without Scowl though, good luck. Our last unit for today is Attuned Caeda. If she can't get a cool engage form with Emblem Marth, Caeda's just gonna take her husband's look. Adding Marth's blue to her red makes a nice outfit, and this time Caeda is boots on the ground, which is weird. She's a Lance infantry unit with 40 HP, 42 attack, 47 speed, 30 defense, and 34 res. Still got that slight Pegasus Knight higher res focus, and still extremely fast. Now, Caeda has attack and speed super boons, both are fun to have. For old skills, Caeda has Luna, and that's it. It's worth noting her melee infantry class type is pretty valuable for her attuned inheritance status. Tons of crazy skills to pass around to one of the most populated class types. Besides fodder, Attuned Caeda is a bit crazy. This wild kit starts with Caeda's new Pure Wing Spear, effectiveness against armor and cavalry foes plus accelerated specials. At start of turn, if you're near allies, Caeda and those allies gain +6 attack and speed field boss and the regular 2 range warp status. If Caeda fights within 3 spaces of an ally, she gets stats equal to the number of allies within 3 spaces, times 3, with a base +5. 3 allies will get you the max +14 total stats. In addition, she has half DR piercing for every attack, 30% DR for all the foe's attacks except AoE, and the Caeda heals X HP on a hit. If the foe is armor or cavalry, she heals 14 HP per hit. Otherwise, it's the usual 7 HP. Pure Wing Spear is a team-wide attack and speed buff and warp status support, very good for anyone. If near a lot of allies, she can gain a huge bonus to all stats, and Caeda gets 30% DR for every hit she takes. Her own attacks have partial DR piercing, and healing that is doubled versus armors and calves. She also has her usual dual effectiveness. Where things get a little wild is Caeda's new B skill, Believe in Love. To break it down easier, this is basically a bunch of effects we've seen before. First off, dodge 4% DR, Caeda gets that phantom speed effect, and dodge 4 is 50% DR potential. She then inflicts -5 attack speed and defense on the foe at any time. Caeda herself gets a full Spectrum Unity effect to counter debuffs. If the foe is armor or cavalry, she gets flat damage reduction equal to X. X is the highest total field boss among Caeda or nearby allies, and this flat DR is going to work against AoE specials too. If the foe is not armor or cavalry, then Caeda still gets flat DR, but it's 40% of that X value, and it's only for foes' first attacks with an S. Believe in Love combines percent damage reduction with flat damage reduction, except I don't think we've seen flat DR values as high as Caeda can get, at least not in such an easy way. Let's put it like this, if Caeda can get +6 to all stats, which, spoiler, she will, then that's 24 total field boss. Caeda will get 24 flat DR, which is insane. Even if her field buffs get neutralized, a nearby ally with buffs can pass that flat DR amount onto Caeda. For infantry and flyer matchups, she still gets flat damage reduction, but it's 40% of whatever X would be equal to. In that standard 24 total field buff example, 40% of that is 9 flat damage reduction, still pretty solid. While Legendary Caeda's B skill is all about Vantage, this B skill is a super buffed up version of her young old's B skill. Who needs Vantage? Just dodge. For Caeda's Attuned X skill, she brings in Guard Echo. At start of combat, if unit is above 25% HP, you inflict guard on the foe, aka -1 to their special charge value. On the enemy phase, this skill also has 20% damage reduction for first attacks with an S. Guard Echo is fairly self-explanatory, but unlike say Guard 3 in that seal slot, this version retains the tier 4's HP threshold. It also has less percent DR, and the DR doesn't apply to the player phase compared to Guard 4, but the fact we get any damage reduction at all is pretty great. With this attuned skill, we add another skill slot option for Guard. You got A, B, Sacred Seal, and now Attuned. You can inherit Guard Echo onto any unit. Sure, no guard is around a lot, but it's still a good basic defensive perk to have in a build. Next, we have an inheritable A skill called D bonus doubler, exact same skill description as Arlen's C bonus doubler. This is just the distant counter A skill plus bonus doubler 4's ability to use nearby ally field boss. It's an upgrade from the regular DC A skill. Don't really have anything else to add. Use this version for your melee infantry units. Last new skill for today is Defensive Pledge. Alir has thankfully shared Pledge, and this is a new stat variant. At the start of a turn, if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, grant +6 defense field boss and the bread type cooldown status to the user. If the unit fights within 2 spaces of an ally, you also get a bonus +3 defense res in combat. Pledge skills are the sister self-buffing options to Oath 4. You got the same 2-space range, which makes them easy to use, and staying near allies will grant you more stats in combat. If you don't need warping, Pledge offers cooldown reduction. This is one way to get breath type cooldown on the ranged units for enemy phase. For example, Arlen can use this skill. Of course, it's fine for initiations, although this version is more suited to tanky units, +9 total defense res if you don't have team buffers. Now, there is one downside to this pledge stat variant. You need Defensive Res 03 as a prereq. Defensive Res 03 is on a single limited time unit, Dual Alphons. Spending 4 inheritance slots hurts. When it's an attuned hero, you cannot get Shieda's whole inheritable kit unless you got Dual Alphons, or you wait till Defensive Res 03 releases on a free-to-play friendly source. Hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. Now, for general playstyle, Attuned Caeda is crazy. She's a fast lance infantry with multiple stat stacking sources and multiple damage reduction sources. If near 3 allies, that's 14 to all stats. With her lance and pledge, Caeda can get full +6 field balls and bonus doubler. Her B skill inflicts some debuffs, but more importantly, it gives her full unity coverage. For example, in the trailer, Caeda gets like 25+ to all stats. However, that's when she's panicked. Unity is actually counteracting panic there. She wasn't even at full power and yet still got a ton of stats. Team-wide panic is one counter to Caeda. If you neutralize only her buffs, she can leech off of nearby allies. Now, if her buffs or teammates are not neutralized or panicked, this is where things get crazy. Against armor and cavalry foes, Caeda has 2 DR sources on initiations, 3 for the enemy phase. You then get another 24 flat damage reduction with this base kit. If Caeda is defending on enemy phase, she'll get distant counter, and if she gets full dodge DR active, this is about 72% damage reduction. The flat 24 damage reduced comes after that. For infantry and flyer matchups, she's less oppressive, but still combos percent DR with a decent amount of flat DR. If you do not pierce damage reduction, things are going to get ugly. I'll be honest, this feels like a potential gateway into higher flat DR skills as a counter to percent DR piercing, just a counter to a counter to a counter. Good lord. Speaking of counters, Caeda also has 14 HP healing against armors and calves. At least against ranged calves you can counteract flared strikes damage if she survives. Probably still want a healing support, and probably is not going to work against dual Leon. Flat DR does nothing against instant damage. Now for Caeda's own damage, she has that dual effectiveness and half DR piercing. She gives her whole team warping for more attack options. However, Caeda's another high speed unit that really wants no follow-up. With this amount of stat stacking, it's probably okay with the Sacred Seal version, but if you can get it from a teammate, that's fine. Regarding Pledge, it's gonna prime Luna in one action. Same for No Quarter. Maybe you want to go with something like Godlike Reflexes for an unpierceable DR source. If you were to swap to Times Pulse, Caeda can use Vital Astra mostly for the damage part. She already has a lot of percent DR. You could do Miracle to be annoying, or you could go engage with her husband for 1 cooldown Godlike Reflexes. That's always fun. For other skills, you could always swap Distant Counter to the Sacred Seal, but Believe in Love is dependent on field balls anyway. If you do swap, Finish 4 is excellent for more healing, and Caeda herself can join her husband in stacking Unity effects. Like Arlen, stack bonus doubler at your own risk. Overall, Attuned Caeda looks hilarious. Like, how many damage reduction sources can you throw into a unit, and then also potentially 20+ flat DR? She doesn't have everything in a kit, and I doubt it's gonna stop Dual Leon or Legendary Camilla, but hey, no shame in that. That's gonna be it for this banner. We got Merric and Caeda bringing back some of their previous unique skills, although Caeda's is basically an entirely different one. If you do not plan to summon our accompanying Grand Hero battle unit this time is Caster. He's an archer, so he's got access to some neat weapons, and boy is he gonna need it. We'll talk about Caster more in the next video. Thank you for watching, good luck on your summons, I will see you guys in the next video.